you ever feel deeply lonely because it seems like you're the only one who sees the truth or feels into the truth of life while the world goes mad around you? And yet, even though you can see that the way that our society is structured and functioning is not working for us, the people around you think that you're the crazy one, that you're the problem. But there is good news. You are not alone and you are not the problem. Welcome back to the We Are Already Free podcast, where we empower and inspire the conscious misfits from the mainstream to overcome their limiting beliefs and self-doubts and feelings of being the weird one so that they can actually embrace and embody and enjoy their unique gifts that they came here to bring. My name is Nathan Maingard, and I am one of those highly sensitive misfits who was very nearly crushed by the society that we live in, and I now love sharing these beautiful tools and transformational ways of being with my community all over the world through this podcast and through the Already Free Academy. When you hear the words, "we are already free," what comes up for you?
Acceptance.
A shift in awareness.
Human beings are so powerful.
There's so much more.
Everything is love behind it.
Breaking the chains of your own mind.
That which remains.
Nature.
Getting out of the matrix.
We're sitting on the treasure and it's already unlocked.
We are already free.
You're free.
You are a walking map.
Have always been free.
You are always free, already free.
We are already free.
In today's episode, we'll explore how creating connected communities is a powerful antidote to the epidemic of isolation and loneliness that is being experienced by so many all over the world. And in this case, specifically focused on those of us who are awakening to a reality beyond what we've been given by the limiting society into which we were born. By the end of today's episode, you'll have a deeper understanding of why isolation and loneliness is such a big problem, what it means, and why you're probably feeling a lot of that in the world today, in the society today, why that makes sense that you would feel that, and also some very practical steps you can take to start finding your tribe, connecting with your people, and returning to a sense of belonging, and how that can actually be the thing that the world needs right now more than anything, is for you to find your tribe. So listen on for more. If you are tired of being an isolated human listening to this podcast alone and you want to connect with the other beautiful We Are Already Free tribe from around the world who enjoys this podcast, I have great news for you, because you can visit alreadyfree.me/podgang and join the free Already Free Academy, the free part where you get to chat about each episode. You'll see the show notes there. You'll see anything you want to talk about, any questions you want to ask me, and move out of this little isolated bubble of aloneness. And we're going to talk a lot more about that in this episode, but I just wanted to start and invite you into the pod gang. So just go to alreadyfree.me/podgang or check it out in the show notes. Let's get on with the episode. Today is a solo episode, so thank you for joining me for this. I just think this is such an important topic, and you may hear me speaking a lot more about it because I am in the process of creating and building the Already Free Academy, which is a phenomenal community for people just like us. So I'm doing a deep dive on isolation, really, and loneliness and community, and how it's so important, or why so many people are so unwell today. Loneliness is not actually an isolated thing. That's the crazy thing. Is this in the Western world today, most people are experiencing unprecedented levels of isolation and loneliness. And you'll hear people say things like, "Oh, but you don't want to be codependent, you want to be independent." And that's crazy. Humans are social animals. We were designed to be connected to other people, to know ourselves through our communities. And more people are feeling isolated. And that has some really, really negative effects, not just in terms of, "Oh, I feel a bit lonely," but real, actual physical results of dis-ease, of illness, etc. 1 in 5 people in the Western world admits to feeling lonely a lot of the time. And chronic loneliness literally leads to mental health illness and also physical health illness. It's been called the equivalent of smoking 15 cigarettes a day, experiencing chronic loneliness or isolation. And yet, just in the last generation or so, we've had a tripling of the amount of people who experience isolation and loneliness on a regular basis. This is not okay. This is not what humans were designed for. So if you feel that feeling, you know what that feels like to feel alone, like you don't know where your people are. And maybe even you've kind of realized the mainstream isn't working for you, but then you found this other community of people who are maybe they like awake or conscious, etc. But they're constantly talking about the doomsday and how bad it all is and the aliens that are coming and the lizard people, and they just constantly focused on the negative stuff. Neither of those is going to work for you. It's about finding a community where you are encouraged to embody and embrace your true, beautiful, authentic self and the unique gifts that you came here to bring. And it's just belonging in a way that's not about what is wrong, but how do we be what is right? How do we be the thing that we're hoping to experience more of in the world? I know that saying is so cliche, but it's cliche because it's true. Be the change you want to see in the world. How do you do that? You do that by connecting with your people, with your tribe in a safe and contained space. By the end of today's episode, you'll have some cool tools and some ways to get going with that. But first of all, I want to share with you a bit of a personal journey from my side. So when I was a young person, I remember so clearly the passion, the love, the open-heartedness, and like the natural spirituality that I just had in life, the excitement, the enthusiasm, the curiosity. Unfortunately, I then met with mainstream society. I met with school, and I met with education, and I met with the bullies. And I was put into tension at school so many times because the teachers didn't like that I asked too many questions. So I would always be the one going, but why that? Why should we believe that? Why is that important for us to know? They did not like that. I mean, I remember when I was a kid being like, where did it all start? Infinity. Where did it begin? Oh, Big Bang. Don't worry about it. It's like it's all explained. What? It's a total mystery. It's amazing. But I came into life with those beautiful, authentic feelings, wanting to be connected. But then society made me feel like I was the problem. So the bullies, the teachers, the general conditioning from the external was that my authentic curiosity and desire to be barefoot and in nature and just having a good human time, that there was something wrong with that. And I believed it. I thought there was something wrong with me. So I numbed my emotions as a teenager, got into drinking and womanizing and just doing all the things that I really thought, like if I can be cool enough, if enough people can like me, then I'll be enough. And I caused myself and others so much harm, and I felt more and more isolated. Even though I had some really good friends at that time, I mistreated them. I was not a good friend to many people, and I walked away looking for something more, for this feeling of enoughness, that if I could just find the right people or the right place, then I'd be enough. And I reached a breaking point in my early 20s where I really just was getting so unwell. And every time I'd connect with another woman, I would just feel so ill and just gross. Like, this isn't what I want. And that was the beginning of a huge turning point of being willing to go to the uncomfortable place of looking into myself and meeting all the parts of myself and coming back to a more authentic way of being. And through that, what happened, because I was willing to be courageous and vulnerable and authentic, I then started to meet more people aligned with my way of being, how I wanted to be in the world, which fast forward some years, and I eventually met the Lyrical Nomads in London, this beautiful group of people like Roman and Thomas James Smith and Sam Garrett and Nio, and this whole crew of us who were playing music together and writing songs and hugging each other and just loving life, loving each other. And it was this feeling of coming home. And I realized that the power of authenticity is that it gives us the chance to connect authentically with our people, to find our people. But many of us don't even know what it means to be authentic. What is that even? Who are you really? What is your authentic self? What is your purpose? What does it look like? And that's one of the things that I so love working with coaching clients, is this incredible feeling of feeling this lack of clarity of, I'm overwhelmed, I'm lost, I don't know who I am, I'm stuck in this job that isn't working for me, this relationship, these friendships, this life that just isn't working, but I'm stuck in the rut, I don't know how to change. That's an amazing experience for me to work with someone like that and watch that transformation and that blossoming. So powerful. So what is the problem here? Why is this all happening? I want to look at the last few years over the lockdowns and everything that went down there, and this current sort of totalitarianism in a way. It makes it look like we're free, but really, are we free in this society when there's all these rules and all these judgments and this mass media just pumping us full of inadequacy? You're not enough, you're not enough, you're not enough. You need to buy this, you need to do that, you need to show up this way, get this injection, do this thing. And what we're experiencing, it was talked about a lot during the lockdowns, is mass psychosis, mass formation delusion, basically, where a huge portion of the population is completely stuck or trapped inside of this dream, inside of this illusion of our society that says that it is doing what we need to be healthy humans. When clearly, if you just look at it, That is not the case. So you listening to this are a visionary. You're an edge walker. So of course you feel isolated. Of course you feel alone because you see through the bullshit. And that's a lonely thing in a society where most people don't, where most people are hooked into the mass delusion. There's a beautiful saying that I want to share with you that you may have heard me say it before. It's Jiddu Krishnamurti who said it. And what he said is, it is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. And I've kind of turned that into my own thing to make it a little simpler, which basically is fitting into a sick society is not a sign of good health. Fitting into a sick society is not a sign of good health. So here are some of the normalized insanities that we deal with in our society on a daily basis, just to kind of give a little overview of like, why do I think we're living in an insane time? Here's a basic one. The shoes that most people wear are literally deforming their feet. And I just want you to know, like everything I'm saying right here, you're welcome to write to me, comment in the show notes, ask me about it, and I will share more information with you. But I just want to run through it real quick. Shoes, most people's feet are deformed and misshaped by the shoes that they are wearing today. That is crazy. The education system that we have is based on an industrialization process. Education is designed to make people who are workers, not free thinkers, not creative people, not liberated, free people. It's designed to make automatons, people who follow the rules and do the work for the society, for the organization. That's crazy. Highly processed food. We have more and more food available if you walk into a supermarket. And I swear to you, 99% of what they call food in there is poisoning your body. It's poisoning the land. It is not good for us. We can see this in the results of obesity and sickness around the world every day. The medicine that we're fed. So then you get sick because you're eating the highly processed food. You go to the doctor and what does he say? He doesn't say, you should exercise more. Go exercise, meditate, sleep well, eat whole foods, spend time in nature, come back to me in 2 weeks, tell me how you feel. No, the doctor says, here's some medicine. What does the medicine do? The medicine masks the symptoms. It suppresses the symptoms. And so you feel, oh, well, that worked. But then you get side effects and you go back and you say, well, now I can't sleep or now I've got headaches. And he's like, oh, well, let's have this other medication. It's absolute madness. Instead of going to the root of the illness, they focus on the symptoms. I'll just do a few more just to we could go deep into each of these for hours. But birth in our society is treated like a medical emergency instead of a natural process. Yes, there are times when there are complications, but for the vast majority of humans, the vast majority of the time, a natural birth is absolutely available. I think in South Africa, it's like 50 to 70% of births are now cesareans. That's not necessary. That's crazy. The next one is death. How does death operate in our society? We're all going to die. What do? We send our old people off to old age homes. We hide from death. We don't acknowledge it as the sacred, incredible initiation that it is. We push it away. We hide from it. I've got multiple episodes on that, specifically one with Dr. Gary Schliffer. If you want to go and listen to that one, it was amazing. I'll see if I can put it in the show notes. And then finally, just for now, there's so many other things, but finally for now, plant medicines, psychedelic plant medicines like mushrooms and ayahuasca and all these incredible things. I was on the verge of wanting to end my life. I wished that I was not. I wished I didn't exist. And plant medicines brought me back from that edge. They helped me. And all the research is showing now how powerful these can be for people who have untreatable depression and fear of death, et cetera, and yet it's still illegal as a class A drug alongside like cocaine and crack and heroin in most parts of the world. That's crazy. So we realize the society is crazy. And what does that lead to? We lead to people who are on their phones, on social media all the time, on these algorithms that just want more from us. They just want our attention, the most valuable thing we have. They just want to keep sucking it out of us, So we go there for support, but we don't get it. So the result is we don't have emotional support. Most people these days say that they don't have someone close that they can talk to and share deep and vulnerable things with. That number has tripled in recent decades, the amount of people who are just like, I don't have anyone I can talk to. I don't have a person who I can be vulnerable with, be myself with. That's so sad. That breaks my heart. That is terrible. This leads to a crisis of isolation, a crisis of a lack of belonging, where people feel like they shouldn't be here, that there's something wrong with them, but there's not something wrong with them. There's something wrong with the society that's not taking care of them. We are going to get to solutions in a moment. Don't you worry. But I really want to clarify, this is a big problem. It's not just like, oh, I feel a bit lonely. We need connection, people. We need connection. Remember when I said earlier that social isolation is as harmful as smoking 15 cigarettes a day? That is not a little thing. That is not just it'd be nice to have some more friends. We need connection. Yes, this loneliness can be overwhelming. It can be overwhelming, but it also presents an incredible opportunity. It presents an invitation and an indication of what needs to change. What needs to change is that we need to acknowledge these truths, and we need to seek out like-minded, like-hearted people who are on the same path of transformation, of awakening, these conscious misfits from the mainstream, so we can start to build the resilient communities that we need. And I believe that's both online and in person, because the reality is we have the internet, we use the internet, it's amazing. But if it doesn't lead to more in-person connection, then that community is only ever going to serve you when you're on the internet. So it's very important. Find communities that are prioritizing how can we encourage and support more in-person connection as a part of our community structure. I hope that makes sense. Let me know in the comments. Please do reply. Go to alreadyfree.me/podgang and join and share your comments there. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this. So, which brings us to, what is the solution? What do? We build resilient communities. It's simple. So I talked about the mass delusions earlier, about the mass psychosis. I hope I'm not going too fast for you. I'm just very excited and I really want to share this information with you. So you can also give me that feedback. I'm happy to slow down or whatever. This whole solo thing is quite new to me. So it's a bit of an experiment. So I'd love to know your thoughts. So earlier I talked about the mass psychosis, the mass delusion that we experience in our society, especially at this time. One of the solutions to that, the sort of cure for that disease, if you will, is to build parallel structures that exist within the current society, because we are in the society. You can't escape the society. It is here. But we build these parallel structures, these sort of, you can call it a bubble. I don't think that's a negative thing. People say, oh, you're in a bubble. Yeah, good. If it's a good bubble, rad. And those parallel structures, those resilient communities, are the ones that can maintain, can navigate the changing times when the mass delusion, the mass psychosis, the totalitarianism collapses, because it will eventually collapse. It will. It eats itself. It must keep devouring, and it needs more and more and more. It's the insatiable, hungry entity of just insatiable. What's the word? I guess I want to say hunger, but there's another word for it. You're probably thinking of it right now. It's on the tip of my mind, on the tip of my tongue. So what makes these communities so valuable is that when you connect with like-minded people, it fosters emotional resilience. It gives you a sense of mutual concern, that there are people you care for as much as you care for yourself, and people who care as much for you, where you feel seen, where you feel understood, where you feel supported in your growth journey and in actually showing up more holistically in your life as yourself in the world. Which is basically the opposite of society, if you think about it. Like the way our society currently works, it's isolating people more and more and more, as we're seeing from these statistics I mentioned. So by connecting, that is the revolution. The revolution is to connect with people, to move away from the algorithmic mayhem of the social media platforms, form communities that are contained, that have boundaries, that only allow certain people in. This is a good thing. It is good to be with your people and to say, those are not my people, these are my people. That's what gives us the sense of community that humans need. The wound that you experienced, that I experienced, that many or most of us experienced, the trauma that we experienced in the society happened because of isolation, happened in isolation. So what is the medicine? What is the healing? The healing is community. The healing is connection. This is one of the biggest mistakes I made in my healing process for years. I was so embarrassed and ashamed that I had shadow parts, that I had vulnerable parts, that I had parts of me where I felt like I was a failure and I wasn't good enough and I didn't deserve love and all these different things, which is part of the reason I wanted to get out of life, was because I thought it would be better off without me. And the deep mistake I made was to do that in isolation. I thought, if I just heal, I'll heal by myself. I'll go into my little castle of isolation. That's what I called it myself. When I looked at it afterwards, I was like, oh, that's my castle of isolation. I'll lift the bridge up and no one is allowed to come in and I'm not allowed to go out until I've healed. And then when I'm a good enough boy, when Nathan has been a good enough boy, then I can go out and show people and they get to enjoy the healed me. And it took me so long to realize that the best thing I could do for myself was to go and sit in a circle of community, in a sharing circle, in vulnerable spaces, bring all the parts of me, the beautiful parts, the shadowy parts, the gorgeous and the ugly, bring it in and offer it into the circle as everyone else was doing. And we heal together. It's the most profound and beautiful thing, I promise you. Let's move into some of the, like, what makes a community, what makes connection possible, basically. What is going to enable you? How do you know you're in some kind of a community that is going to enable you to authentically connect and to have this experience that we all need of belonging? So here are some simple elements that you can know that you can look for to start finding your tribe today, basically. So first of all, you need a space that is a boundaried space that is not just like the open, anyone's welcome at any time. You need a boundaried space where the people who are on the same journey or a similar journey as you, the journey of awakening, of being conscious, of being responsible, of growing and transforming, that those people gather in this space, and it's a contained space. Not everyone is allowed in, and that's how it should be. Also, authenticity is welcomed, is nurtured. So specifically, your true self is welcome. Bring that in. That's what people want. That's what the exercises are about. That's what the community gatherings are about. That's really critical. Mistakes and breakups are acknowledged and known to be normal and okay. This is a big one. So often we get trapped in the idea of perfectionism. If I'm not good enough, then I don't get the good stuff, or then I don't get love, whatever that looks like. And the reality is we all make mistakes. We are always going to come up against each other's shadows and traumas, and we're going to argue and break up. But in a solid community, you will notice that there are structures and acknowledgements and ways, tools for making up afterwards. That's really important. Conscious communication, a space where the breakups and the mistakes are acknowledged, but the makeups are also a part of each person's responsibility within the community, and there are structures for that. Obviously, this might sound simple, but a shared vision and values. So a shared vision of what you want the world to be like, what you want your life to be like, what you want your community to be like, and then the values that everyone agrees to embody that enable that to happen, that beautiful vision. Simple, but true and necessary. Another important piece is repeat gatherings. So places where people gather either online or offline or both, where they gather either weekly or every 2 weeks or every month or whatever it is, but there's a consistent gathering space for the community, that where you get to be a community, where you get to share and receive and do the rituals that make your community, that make it holistic, whether that's sharing circles or vulnerability circles or singing songs or open mics or accountability or all the different things that you can do, or tea parties, whatever it is, it needs to have those consistently. They need to be well led. They need to be well structured. That's a good sign of a good, healthy community happening for you. There also needs to be a way, this is the final one for now, by the way. We're going to go to some very practical action steps next. So if I'm losing you, stick around a moment longer. So the final thing that a community needs is ways to connect personally with the other people in the community. So make sure whatever community you're a part of, your tribe, your weirdo, misfit, conscious, beautiful humans. And when I say weird, by the way, I will say this anytime you need to hear it, but the origin of the word weird really means someone who controls their own fate. Weird means someone who controls their own fate. So if you control your own fate, if you want to have that beautiful responsibility of owning your life, your experience, I choose this life, then you're a weirdo just like me. So that's an important piece of the community, that there are ways to meet other individuals and connect with them deeply so that you can form these beautiful bonds of belonging. Otherwise, you might find that you've got like one person who's in charge of the whole thing and they're the only one connecting with all the group. And that could potentially lead to some concerning results, as I'm sure you're aware. I hope that this has been enjoyable so far. The next one is the practical action steps. These are the very practical steps you can take to start connecting into your community. Maybe you're feeling that isolation, maybe even feeling a bit overwhelmed. Like, where do I start? I need to find my people, but I don't know where to look. So here's a challenge for you. If you just take one action, reach out to one person this week who shares your values. So that could be someone you know through the internet. It could be someone in your local community, someone in a shop who you've had a few chats with. Reach out to someone who you feel shares your values. Say hello. Say, hey, can we meet up? Can we get on a video call? Can we go for a walk? Can we have a coffee? It starts with reaching out, making that connection. The next way is, of course, to find an online community. That's another action you can take. There's plenty of online communities around. I've got one I suggest you join, and I'll tell you about it in a moment. But some kind of an online community that really fosters the pieces that I was talking about above. And you can always listen to this again and replay it as many times as you want to like take some notes. And because if it ticks those boxes, it's going to be a good vibe for sure. And that's a really simple, great way to start. If you don't know where to start, if you're kind of listening to this going, but I don't really know where to find communities like that, I have a suggestion. Join the Already Free Academy. This is a community that I am in the process of launching. We've already got over 50 people in there, 50. I'm saying that like that because I'm just so stoked. We have weekly gatherings where people share vulnerable circles in a contained and safe space that's community only. We have a posting board. We have a challenge to help you to start a morning routine, which is one of the most transformational things you can do for yourself. We have resources, worksheets, breathwork videos. There's a tool integrated into it that you will be prompted to connect with another community member every few weeks or as often as you choose, really, where you will actually get to meet and chat with the other beautiful people. I mean, we have energy healers, we have architects, conscious architects, we have musicians, we have people from all walks of life, homesteaders, and it's only just beginning. And it ticks every box that I've mentioned. The reason being that I'm doing a deep dive on community, and I have been for a little while. I'm reading the books, I'm learning, I'm absorbing this information because I realize that that's what I want in my life is I need that community. I need it around me as well. I am as much right now sitting alone in my caravan talking to a microphone and you wonderful humans around the world. But I also want more of that in-person connection. And I have a vision of how we're going to enable the members of this community to start running their own circles in their local communities, wherever they are. So there's plenty of good stuff coming. So yeah, the community is really set up to support the conscious misfits from the mainstream. This is not where the mainstream hangs out. We are a place for the holistic healers, for the conscious business people, for those who are willing and ready to connect again, to connect and drop into a beautiful way of being. So you can go, even if you just want to taste it, you can go to alreadyfree.me/podgang. That'll get you into the free part of the community where you get to comment on the podcast episodes. And if you want, you can join us for the more integrated experience of the weekly coaching calls and accountability and sharing circles. And I promise you, it is profound. It is so beautiful to see what's happening. We've only just launched and people are having really powerful transformations already. You can go to alreadyfree.me/academy if you want to check out the more holistic community, alreadyfree.me/academy. So this is it. Together we can create these parallel structures. We can connect and create something that is powerful, beautiful, authentic, sincere, and that at the end of the day just helps us each as individuals to have a more beautiful life and to have a more beautiful impact on the world around us, on the people we love and on the nature we love. And what else is there really? That's a wonderful thing. Let's do it. So don't wait. Please take action on this. Find that community, reach out to that person, go to alreadyfree.me/academy and join us. Become a part of something beautiful. And I look forward to welcoming you into the community. I hope that you realize by the end of this that you are really not alone, dear listener. You are not alone. You may feel alone. You may look out at the world and go, it's crazy out there, and feel powerless and hopeless and overwhelmed, but you have power. You can make changes. And you can make it, especially like the beautiful saying is, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. I want to go far. I want to go far with you. I want to go far with people who listen to a podcast like this, people who realize or want to remember that we are already free, who live this mantra, this prayer of remembering this beautiful truth at the base of it all, that we are already free. And how do we remember that? By building resilient communities. By building resilient communities, we battle isolation, we battle loneliness, we come back into connection. For now, that's the end. If you want to share your thoughts on this particular episode or any other, connect with the other podcast listeners specifically, alreadyfree.me/podgang. I look forward to seeing you there. We will be back next week. I have a very beautiful episode coming with a very special guest. So thank you again for being here. And as always, please remember, we are already free.